there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold, but things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. Times gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I had today. I took a walk one street over from my home, cracked and broken asphalt everywhere. I could have ended up just like that broken road, with a dead end in my path. Thank the Lord that I've got more than that. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I won't forget the lessons that I don't deserve. Because one street over there's a life I could have known, that would have kept me from the one I love today.
Good morning, Robertson County. How you doing? This is 1100 WSGI, Utah Laverne, and this is One Street Over. What's going on? One street over from where you live, and we need to know, and that's what this show is all about. We had, we're kind of on a theme this last couple of days. We had Dr. Chris Causey in yesterday. He comes in on the day after the school board meeting, and so we had, and I talked to him a little bit about my guest coming up, because this has to do with the decisions, choices, and options. Suzanne Geerholt is with me, and you took over the road that Joey had, and so tell everybody. Pull that microphone, straighten it out right there in front of your face there. Suzanne and I have met a couple of times at dinners and different things, but your role, you're the director now?
The executive director.
The executive director, because that was Joey's role, but then she's like now.
She is president, founder, director of resource development.
Right. And she just needed some help. Joey's been doing this. I love Joey's story, and we'll tell her story within the context of this hour. I've got Suzanne on for an hour. And we're going to talk about something very near and dear to my heart, and that's decisions, choices, and options. Because once I heard about this is one of those things. There's been several things that I've learned since I've sat behind the microphone. And actually, I learned about this, I think, the first time at one of our meetings for the Republican Party, back even before I ran for office. And so, once you see this and you understand it, you can't unsee it. It's kind of the same way when I see the program of Isaiah, the Isaiah House, or Open Door Pregnancy and Resource Center, or CASA, or just all the things that are so incredible that are going on in this community. Once you see them, you're like, oh man, I can't unsee that. I got to see what I can do to help that. Right?
Right.
And that's what I see decisions, choices, and options as. Oh my goodness. Once you see this, you can't unsee it. I reached out to Joy the other day because I'm teaching now in high school. And I had a reason we were talking about finances because they got me I'm teaching audio video, but until we build that program, I'm teaching other things. And one of those things is a intro to business and marketing class.
Okay.
I have to study for that. I can do it, but I have to study for that. And I was talking about finances, and I wanted the success sequence.
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about that. So we're going to get into all of these things. Let's welcome Suzanne to the table. Thank you for coming to our little show here, One Street Over.
Thank you, Laverne.
And how long have you been with Decisions, Choices, and Options?
Well, so my journey is a little broken where Decisions, Choices, and Options is concerned. I started with them in June of 2017 after attending a dinner and not being able to unsee what I had seen.
Exactly.
Wanted to be a part any way that I could with this organization. So I started by being on their prayer team in 2017, probably about January of 2017. By June, I am an accountant by trade and a mom of 4. And when I heard about their cost of parenting class and they needed help in that class, teaching that class in the classroom, I thought, I can do that. I know what it costs to raise children. And I have a passion for children who are looking for that or needing the personal finance credit in the state of Tennessee. All students have to take that class. And I come from a broken family that went through lots of bankruptcies. And so it's always been a passion of mine for children to understand what it looks like to be financially secure. And so I, because they had the need open, I came and joined the staff in June of 2017. And then in February of 2020, our family went through a job change that required more of me than DCO could provide, which is a little nonprofit and did not have the benefits necessary for me to stay there. And so I went and worked for the city of Gallatin as a grant coordinator, opening their first position. And as I did that, I learned so much more that when God brought me back to DCO, I came back last year in July of 2022. So I've been with DCO. I was actually on the board during the time that I was working at the city of Gallatin. I've been with DCO, long answer to your short question, since June of 2017.
I like long answers because I'll have people, and Suzanne did the same thing. She walks in and she said, we're going to talk for an hour? Yeah. I mean, anybody who knows me, I turned the microphone on last Friday and I started talking and did not take a breath until about 7:35. When I've got something on my mind, and this is something that is on my mind, it is a passion for me as well. And this is one of those things I can't unsee now that I know it's here. People are always asking, because I ran for Congress, people think I'm some authority on something. No, I just did what I felt God calling me to do.
Yes.
And I don't have to play politics anymore. He said, I don't have to. So I'm going to do, I'm in ministry now, 100%.
Yes.
Well, I'm teaching, but I'm talking about the things that I do that I feel is my purpose. I'm just full on in ministry mode. And if he calls me back to politics, I'll go, but I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going to. But nonetheless, because I have worn that political hat, people will and I've been in the media for so long, people will come to me, oh, I'm so concerned about our country. I'm so concerned about this. What can we do? And my answer to them has been really, ever since I started discovering these things, change it from the inside out. Have you heard about decisions, choices, and options? Have you heard about Open Door? Have you heard about CASA? Have you heard about Isaiah 117 House? Have you heard about all these things that are being the hands and feet of Jesus in our community, recreating our communities from the inside out? We go on mission to Mexico, right? And I am that's just life-changing. I get to go down to El Rosario every year, and I get to lead the optical team. It's so exciting to be able to put glasses on people.
Wow.
It's just so cool. But anyway, I digress. The whole reason Baja Missions became a thing is because of the City of Children in Ensenada. The City of Children, they were taking in children off the streets that were just, abandoned. The parents, it's not that they didn't love their kids, they couldn't provide for them. They couldn't do anything for them. And so they would get cast off. Then they started taking these kids in, City of Children. And the leadership there said, man, what can we do to make a difference? Let's go into the communities. Let's start establishing the hands and feet of Jesus through the church, and let's see what we can do. And what that has birthed is clinics and just all kinds of things where you're healing the community from the inside out. And when my first exposure to that, I started thinking, why aren't we doing this in America?
Right.
Programs like y'all's is.
Yeah.
This is how you change it, guys. You're wringing your hands over what's going on in the country. This is how you change it from the inside out.
Yep. We truly believe that when children and youth understand their inherent value, their intrinsic value and their inherent worth just by being a human being, and when they value themselves, they'll make decisions that not only affect them, but their generations to come and the people around them, the communities that they're in. When we have these real frank conversations about how each decision that they make affects the next one and where their journey will go throughout their life, they make better decisions.
You bet. Yeah. Something you said, and don't get nervous with me taking notes, because I know this is going to be one of those things, and I'm very attention issue, and I have to, or I'll forget what I was going to say.
Me too.
You mentioned the value of life.
Yeah.
The value of life. Yeah. Research it, folks. Find out when our country started going downhill. It's when we started devaluing life and devaluing the life of the unborn. That is where it began. And I've seen Joy talk about this.
Yes.
Margaret Sanger.
Yes.
Go look her up.
Yes. Yes. And that's one of the things that we see today is that the thing that really shocked me last year was we have laws in place in the state of Tennessee of what you can and cannot teach children in the school regarding family life education. And so we provide education that points to the law, that lines up, with the law, and hits all of the standards that are expected to be taught to our students, which very much value life. And I guess it was October, maybe, we saw a report come through that in some of our larger counties and cities, Planned Parenthood was given a grant in 2 of the larger cities for their sex education to come in. Very explicit material, things that you shall not teach in the state of Tennessee. And so we wondered, how is this even possible? And this year, this session, in the legislative session, we've seen some bills come across the table that just changed the way we're able to get into the classroom, the shall and shall not teach information, things that certainly won't pass right now, but it's just interesting as we introduce those topics, what does that look like for the future of our children? And so now more than ever, kids need to know what the truth is. We need to stick to the laws. We need to make sure that we're teaching our children healthy decision-making skills and not just an anything goes type of material. And
I'm glad you mentioned that about what's going on in the state legislature, because we have Senator Kerry Roberts comes in on the 4th Monday. And I want to talk to him about a couple of things, but I would like for him to kind of clarify some of the things that are coming up and just kind of keep us up to date. Because I'm out of politics now, I struggle to stay, clued into the things that I need to be paying attention to.
Yes.
And so
there's a lot out there.
You better believe it. And I have a friend of mine that's still in media, Pamela Furr, that comes on now once a month to kind of help us wake up, say, okay, this is going on. Look at this. And Omar Hamad, just several different people that are still plugged in that I look to them and like, okay, what am I missing? And they keep me up to date. So I'll talk to him specifically about that. But one thing that you said a little bit earlier, and let me just kind of put this on the table, and I'm sorry, I'll go off on all kinds of little tangents, but you were talking about your original job at Decisions, Choices, and Options.
Yes.
So as a teacher now, since I'm teaching a Intro to Business and Marketing class, could I say to you, hey, can you come in and teach that
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this,
Yeah.
and our cost of parenting program is one of my favorites. It's the favorite of our juniors and seniors. It's actually the culmination of all of our programs. So we meet middle schoolers with healthy boundaries content. It's a little bit lighter, more relationship oriented. We then go into health and wellness classes and teach life choices, which really goes deeper into what happens if a student ends up in a teen ends up in an unplanned pregnancy situation. What are the options on the table for them? And we develop all three of them from a medically accurate, scientific based answer so that they understand the decisions that they're making fully. We look at the realities of what it's like to be a teen parent, what it is like to experience an abortion, what it is like to experience adoption from all of the standpoints and perspectives, and allow the students to see at the end of it what is the option that is best for them and their child if they end up in a situation like that. But our cost of parenting program goes into all kinds of different classes, and it's a fun class. We talk about what it costs to raise a child for the first year of life, and then what it would cost throughout that life, and the commitments that they are making when they're raising a child. And so it's an activity where they'll go through and they'll actually look up the cost of diapers and formula. And what we find at the end of that class is after they've looked through, here's what it costs every day to raise that child. About $15,000 to $20,000 right now. None of them have that extra money sitting around, and their parents sure don't have that extra money sitting around to help them. And so we quite often hear, especially the young men, this is interesting to me. The young men will say, "Well, I can't really afford to have sex." And so,
There you go.
At the end of the day, we're like, well, that's accurate. That's an accurate
That's
statement.
an accurate statement.
It helps them determine those decisions, which will determine their destiny.
Yeah.
So yes, again, long
Okay.
answer to your short question.
Okay, we're going to do
We
this.
can come into any class and teach that one. Primarily, we go into the personal finance class because we talk about budgeting in there. We talk about everything from where does insurance come from? Who pays for that? If you don't have insurance, how is that paid for? 80% of teens will end up, 80% of teen parents will end up with some form of government assistance before the child is 5 years old. And so we talk about where that funding comes from. Why does it cost the state about $25,000 per teen pregnancy when that occurs? Because teens don't have that money sitting around, because teens may not have that insurance. And so what does that look like? And so we can talk about that in any classroom.
Okay. So how I'm on this. I mean, this is absolutely what we're talking about, and is I told the students, because they're coming into an intro to business and marketing class, and very first thing we did was banking, because I said, here's the thing, bottom line, if you don't understand the finances of a business, you won't have a business. If you don't have a business, you have nothing to market.
Right.
And so I started there, and it was like actually about a third of the way through the curriculum, and I was like, I think we need to start there. And so I've kind of moved it around a bit, but I think this is so important. And so yeah, we'll talk. How much time do you need? Because I get them for an hour and a half a day.
An hour and a half. This is we can contain it all into one period and do it from beginning to end. We talk about the need for safety for emergency funds and setting aside emergency funds and things like that. So yeah, it fits.
I'm all over this. Kiddos, you're gonna meet Miss Suzanne. We'll let you get to the dinner. Y'all got a big dinner coming up.
Yes, we do.
I'll tell you what, we'll pause. We've kind of unpacked it for you. If for some chance you have not heard about decisions, choices, honestly and truthfully, I'm stunned at the people that do not know what decisions, choices, and options are.
Me too.
This is something else I said to you. We'll talk about this on the other side. Things that I forget to do. We'll talk about that. Let me go do a break here, and the church and how they can get involved. I want to kind of make sure we get all those things in. We will get an hour in, no problem. We'll come on the other side of this, Suzanne, and we'll be like, man, we need a little bit longer. Trust me, we'll be good. All right, we're going to start with my friends Cumberland Connect. If you are like me, we're in an area, Robertson County has got a lot of rural areas that are served by Cumberland Electric. If you are served by Cumberland Electric, guess what? You are going to have high-speed internet because it's a utility. That is what it's, just like a telephone was when I was a kid. It was part of the public utility. Now internet is. And now that has been recognized, our electric companies are powering it and bringing it to you. I now have Cumberland Connect. I was able to get this at the first of the year. It has changed everything. I have to do it because I'm a new teacher. I have to work at home. I just have to. And I'm also a photographer. Really trying to build my photography business big in the next year. And as that increases, I need good internet. I could not upload I've done, a little bit of work with my photography, and I would finish with a client. I would have to come here to the radio station to upload photos. I couldn't begin to do it from my house because my upload speed was like 3.5. It's now in the 600s because I got a gig. I don't need a gig. I know my children tell me that's like filling a bathtub with a fire hose, but it's $80. Why not? So I have a gig coming from Cumberland Connect, and you can too. If you're on their list of folks that are about to get service. If you want to find out if you're a Cumberland Electric customer, are they in your neighborhood? Well, go in and put your address in at cumberlandconnect.org, cumberlandconnect.org, and you can find out. Or you can call them at 1-800-987-2362, 1-800-987-2362. Maybe you say, I'm on a tight budget. I cannot afford internet. Well, there's an affordable connectivity program now providing qualifying households with monthly credit to help you pay for internet services. If you were eligible, you could receive a credit of up to $30 per month toward broadband services. Dr. Causey was even saying yesterday that they've even come in and talked to the school board and the schools about, let your students know we want to help them. We want to make sure that they're connected. And they're giving the schools the materials they need to make sure that families know you need to get connected. It is a utility now. So reach out to them, cumberlandconnect.org, cumberlandconnect.org. When you talk to them, thank them for being one of our full-time sponsors and telling you turn things. Suzanne is with me, and I have to always look at your name to make sure I say it right, the last name. Suzanne Geerholt.
Yes, ma'am.
Geerholt, did I say it right?
Yes, you did.
And she is the executive director of Decisions, Choices, and Options. Joy Wassell has moved over into, and this is something that was announced at the dinner last year, she's moved over into the role of founder and president. And I mean, you guys where all are you? What areas are you in now?
So we have expanded, and that's part of
Yeah,
the
that's
change.
part of it.
Our leadership team has just expanded.
Right.
We are in 11 counties in
wow.
Tennessee. So we pretty much go from the border of Kentucky to the border of Alabama and Middle Tennessee, Wayne, Lawrence, and Giles counties. We call it Southwest Middle Tennessee. And Coffee, Franklin, Moore, and Grundy counties we call Southeast Middle Tennessee for us, and then Sumner, Robertson, Davidson, Wilson County in northern Middle Tennessee. And then we are in several counties in Alabama through some pregnancy resource centers. And now we have actually 2 staff members that live in Alabama. So we have branched out down there as well.
So you've expanded that since last year, because I think you just had one down there last year, didn't
Yes.
you? Yeah,
Yes.
I think I remember right. And we're talking about the dinners. That's where I go to these dinners and I get fired up. But then I get busy and
Yes.
I don't get things done. And I apologize, Joy.
Well, I know last year we
you know.
moved our dinner in Robertson County
Yeah.
from September to November.
Yeah.
And it interfered, I think, with the CMA weekend.
Oh yeah,
or
that was
one
CMA
of the weekends.
weekend.
Yes.
That Mark and I always work at the
Yes.
CMA's hanging lights. We're tech crew, but
We learned
yes.
that November was not a fabulous time to have a DCO dinner in
Yeah.
Robertson County. So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to making some changes this year on that.
And you just have to do that, because what will happen, I tell everybody, whether you can come to the dinner or not, just get on board, become one of the monthly donors, be a one-time donor if that's what you want to do. If you're a person of faith and you tithe, what better thing to tithe to? I'm just saying. Everybody's like, well, I got to tithe to the church. No, you don't. I disagree with that. And I know I want to support the local church. Yes. Support your local church, but take a real serious look at your tithing. And could you portion some of your tithing out to these programs that are going there? You talk about the mission field.
We are on the front
Come
lines
on.
with the students in the
You
classroom.
cannot beat it. And I can't say again. I study Christy McClellan. She is the Gospel on the Ground and the Jesus and Women author out of Williamson College down in Franklin. And I study anything I can get my hands on with her. So I audit some of her stuff that comes out of Williamson College, and she talks about if you will just concentrate. There's a quote from World War II that says, "Beware of any Christian that spends too much time telling you what they're against rather than what they're for."
Yes.
And that's what this program does. You're not going in there, "We're against." No, this is what we're for.
Right.
We're for you being able to live a full life and a good life. I had
An abundant life.
Yes.
Yes.
And when you live what you're for, then people know what you're against. You don't have to be pounding the drum and pointing fingers and screaming at people.
Right.
That's wrong. Do something about it. Show them what you're living for. I had one of the best compliments. They'll share some of the things with us that the students will say. And one of my students said something about, she just wants us to live a better life. Oh, I thought, you already get that?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I thought, yes, that's
Yes.
exactly what. I just want you to live a better life, and that's my goal.
Yes.
And I'm not going to go in there and get on the pulpit and it's like, I would love to share the gospel message with them, but that's not
the place.
That's not the place.
That's right.
If they ask me, I certainly will. But just letting them know you can live a better life.
I love the way that she said that to you and the way that you were able to respond to her, and you being there every day for her is what lets her know that you care. You want her to have that better life, and then they choose it for themselves is what we have found. In I believe it was in Grundy County, which is one of the poorest counties in the state of Tennessee. Our educator down there has been there for Healthy Boundaries in middle school, for Life Choices in their freshman class, and then for Cost of Parenting in their junior and senior year. And so the third time she was there, this young woman came up to one of the educators and said, "Why do you come here?" And she said, "What do you mean? Why do I come here? We want to give you guys the information that you need to live healthy, abundant lives." And she said, "Well, why do you care? We're the poorest county in the state. Nobody really cares about what the decisions are that we make." And she said, "I do. I care about every single one of you and want you to have the best life possible." And she thanked her for coming and caring enough about this young woman and all of her friends to come and share just truth with them. If they will make healthy decisions, if they will, with this success sequence, that's a tongue twister sometimes, if they will graduate from high school, if they will wait and get a full-time job, graduate from high school, get a full-time job, obtain any kind of full-time employment, wait until they're 21 to get married and then have children, they have a less than 9% chance of growing up in poverty. And depending on some of the demographics, it's less than 3%. So I mean, it just doesn't get better than that. And they get that message.
Yeah. I've shared that with my students. Every chance I can tie it in, I tell them, if we talk about finances, do you want to have money? Because I'll talk to them about financial terms. And I'll say, if you ever have any kind of money to invest in, I hope you do, you're going to understand the word volatility and the risk and all this about finances. And I said, if you want to have money, and then I'll share the success sequence with them.
Yes.
Do you know if you'll do these things, you have only a 9% chance of living in poverty? Do you want that?
Yes.
And it gets their attention. It just blows my mind, how simple it is. To help them see.
And for so many students, like we reach all students because we're in public schools, we hit every demographic there is, and they're all learning. None of them by themselves have any amount of money inherently. And so as they're learning how to earn it, as they're learning how to save it, as they're learning how to make it, we're teaching them all of those other things, we need to teach them the value of their life and what decisions that they are making, and how far that impact is going to reach. We know that between the ages of 15 and 24, their brain is developing still. They're making emotional decisions first, typically, unless they have information. And once they have information, they can make educated decisions. And when we talk to them about that goal setting and how the decisions that they make now regarding the activities that they participate in can affect the outcomes of their potential to make that money further on. We hit that really hard in that cost of parenting class that you were talking about, where we actually go through the Bureau of Labor statistics on how far your education will take you and what typically the amounts of money that you will make based on the level of education or that types of things, and how when we hit an unintended pregnancy, and now that we have to make decisions about how that's going to affect our lives, sometimes it can slow that growth down. And so that it just so many conversations that we're having in that 1.5 hours in cost of parenting and about 6 hours in life choices and 9 hours in healthy boundaries. Lots of information packed into that time period.
Tell me this, as a teacher, I can invite you into my class because I think this is a great tie-in. I'm going to make that contact. So this is going to happen for my class. And it's how can I be reassured as somebody that is being a part of, supporting decision choices and options, that it's getting into the classrooms? Do you reach out to them once you've got, so I know y'all come into Robertson County. So I know the teachers that are teaching health and those kinds of things in Greenbrier.
Yes.
Do they have to reach out and put you on the schedule, or do you contact them at the first of the year and say, hey, remember, we're here. When can I come? How does that work?
That's exactly how that happens. Our program director, Beth Cox, is the one who reaches out to the to the teachers in the classroom and gets them on the schedule. And really, DCO grew by word of mouth. One teacher would tell another teacher, hey, there's this program. But now we actually go to the school board. We get permission to be in the schools. We get that endorsement from the director of schools in the counties that we're in. And in one county, we're the only organization that they will let come in and talk to their students after presenting to their Board of Education.
I love it.
But yes, the teacher controls who is in their classroom. And so as we're introduced to new teachers, we can reach out to them, and see what their availability is for us to come on in. And that's kind of how that happens.
Well, and that's one thing we've talked about, trying to get it into, and I didn't know if I wanted to unpack this or not, but I've talked to Dr. Causey a little bit about getting it in the middle schools. And my understanding is it's approved for middle school, right?
Yes.
Okay, but the problem we have is the curriculum for middle school. There's so much curriculum that they have to have
material
that they get tested on. And you're talking, how many hours do you need for the middle school curriculum?
Well, I say 3. I thought it was 9. It's 3 days worth of 45-minute content.
Yeah.
So it maybe
right.
less
And
than
that's
2
the
hours.
thing. You've got to go to the teacher and say, okay, we need this amount of time. And that's the balance, is trying to find that.
Right.
And so,
but we make sure to hit the standards that they have to teach. So it really is a relief for them.
Okay.
I believe in Healthy Boundaries, we hit somewhere between 8 and 10 of the standards that they have to teach. And so we come in as a support to the teacher. We know how valuable that classroom time is. And so we don't want to take any of that away. We want to enrich that time for that teacher. And what we've learned is we're actually in a project impact study now, where we've been able to interview some of the teachers to see what our goal is, to come in and equip not only the students, but the adults in a student's life, and create that community around them that are all teaching them and telling them the same things, equipping them with the same information, because students need to hear that repetitive information. They need accountability. They need adults that they can talk to. So when we have talked with our teachers, they're actually able to continue the conversation in the classroom with the other curriculum that they're working with, and the fact that they're with those students all day, every day, where we come in and talk with them, and we are available, but we're not right there in there every day. It is a help and a resource to the teacher as much as it is to the student.
Yeah, I get that. And I mean, as a teacher, I'm thinking, oh yeah, I get a break. I
get to
do a
come in and
lesson
support
plan
you.
today.
Yes.
I mean, but I mean, I don't. Why are we not in the middle schools? And I talked a little bit about this yesterday with Dr. Causey, but the curriculum was, the one thing, and we didn't really get to talk about it because we were both in a rush coming out of here. But because I know Joy has told me, I think we're approved for the middle school, but we're not there. So what do we need to do to get this rolling?
I'm not sure. Beth is working on that just about every single day.
Okay.
I can get the crosswalks, maybe getting the crosswalks into the middle school teachers' hands that actually shows where the content that we have meets the need, the standards need. And maybe that would be another angle.
Because because that was the impression that I got, and this is just very brief conversation that I had with Dr. Causey, is, I mean, when you're having to be tested on this stuff,
right?
You've got to make sure these kids. That's my teaching. What I'm doing is not part of the state testing,
right?
Yeah. So,
right. And social sciences are not either, I don't believe.
Are they not?
So,
I just assumed it kind of was. I thought that maybe it was. I'm not sure. But
I'm not
nonetheless,
sure
you
about
have a
this.
certain amount of curriculum that you've got to cover.
Right.
So, I don't know. We just need this so desperately in middle school, because I got to tell you, my incoming freshmen, good heavens, the stuff that they talk about that you overhear, you're like, oh my gosh, you're just a kid. What are you talking about?
Right.
And
this is what we would call common sense in our day, kind of the healthy relationship piece of it. And we speak their language in the middle school program, where we actually go in and talk mostly about social media and what are the dangers out there for them. At any given time, there are 500,000 sexual predators online targeting our children ages 12 to 15. I don't know that you'll find that in any other curriculum.
Just say that again.
According to the FBI, at any given time, there are 500,000 sexual predators targeting our children ages 12 to 15 in the United States.
Incredible.
And so we give that information to our students too, and we show them what that looks like, how people aren't who they necessarily say they are online, and our students will say that. I had one student tell me that she changed the age on her social media accounts because she didn't want somebody to think that she was a teenager. So in her naivete, she changed her age to be 21 instead. Well, that opened her up to a whole lot of content that she is not ready for. Her brain isn't ready for, her social skills aren't ready for. And so those are the types of things we can go in and talk to students about, is the common sense, practical things that they're walking through today so that they can make decisions for a healthier tomorrow.
I'll tell you, as we've got the audio video class that we're building, I've talked to my principal about this. I said, as I'm understanding what kind of curriculum I need to push out, anybody who takes audio video 1, the very first thing we're going to talk about is that they're the social media dangers.
Yes.
And the fact that every single one of us are broadcasters now. If you do not understand that, I need to go to the Tennessee legislature and talk to them about the fact that we're all broadcasters now.
Yes.
And if you do not understand that, it will come back to bite you, and bite you big. Yeah. And could be absolutely permanent life-altering circumstances.
Right.
You're a broadcaster. Every single one of you. If you're doing anything on social media, you're a broadcaster. The minute you hit like, you're a broadcaster. And so I'm going to talk about
photos out there.
You better believe it. You are putting it out there. And so I want to really get some stuff from you guys that I can share for those first classes I have with my audio video kids that are coming in next year, because that's something I want to hit hard right out of the gate.
One of the things that we've heard too is we have this new parent power program. You'll hear more about that at the dinner also, because for years we heard teachers say, can you share some of this that you're teaching in the classroom to my students, to the parents? And we wondered, how do we do that? How do we get in touch with parents? How do we have a class just for them? And really what we've taken is our content from our Healthy Boundaries and our Life Choices program and shared it with the parents. So we have that conversation with them. Here's what we're teaching to your students inside the classroom. And we've done that in elementary schools. We've done that in small group settings and community organizations. We can really do that just about anywhere. But we find that parents are getting hungry about that because they are starting to be aware that not only are they broadcasters, but their children are too. And so how do we protect and provide for our children? Well, we do it when all of us are getting together in that community. And one of those pieces is the Parent Power program. So we can do that as well.
Okay. Well, see, now this is another thing, and I got to take another break. It's almost 20 I told you we have no problem coming up with stuff to talk about, because here's what y'all get me all fired up, and I get busy, and I'm just saying, Lord, don't let me get busy this year, because okay, as you're talking about doing the Parent Power program, that is something that when school gets started back, well, maybe we can even do it this spring before they head into the summer.
Yes.
This is something, maybe do a summer launch one, and then coming back in at fall. Hey, I'm the audio video teacher. This is something I want you to understand, and let's talk about this and offer that as I'll have to talk to the to Dr. Osborne about that. If we can do something and say, we're going to offer this evening for you to come in and learn this.
Yes.
I'm going to just do it. We're just going to get this done.
That'd be great.
Because if we could do this launching into the summer, they're going to have free time. These are the things you need to keep in mind. This is
Yes.
something we're going to be touching on as we come back in
Yes.
in the fall. And I'll help you get, we can get this done at Greenbrier and have an
would be
evening
great.
before summer and then an evening as we're coming into
Yes.
fall. And let's just do this twice a year. Let's
That
just
sounds
do it.
fantastic.
Let's just do it.
Yeah. And that's how people get to know who we are,
That's
too.
just it.
How do people not know?
Let's just do it. I can't even imagine that Dr. Osborne will be absolutely. I've gotten to know her well enough. I think she'll be on board with this. But this is what we're talking about too. As we come together and you get fired up when you come to this dinner, we've got to be accountable and not get busy on the other side of the dinner and get these things done to get this
Yes.
into our community, because we are. These are the kinds of programs that are changing your community from the inside out. And
Yes.
that's how you get your country back, y'all.
Round up.
That's how you get your country back. That's how we lost it, because they went inside.
Yes.
They went into our schools.
did.
They knew what they were doing, and they came in on the inside. And I love how Joy unpacks this sometimes about that history. And I need to sit down and talk to her and make some notes myself. But
Yes.
it all comes back to when we started devaluing life. And that is the core of it. I mean, we're talking like 1920s, y'all. I mean,
Yes.
this has been a long process.
Yes.
So this is
And
not
came
going to
in through our
change.
university systems, and
Yes.
so we were teaching the next generation that was going to teach the next generation, and that's how fast it happened. We're
Yes.
one generation away always from things changing forever, and so this is our response to that.
And let me just make an appeal for the fact that we are very short on substitute teachers. We need teachers. This is something that when Donovan Hilton was in here the other day, we coined the phrase retire into teaching. Retire into teaching.
That's great.
If you really, truly want to make a difference in the world, and you, of course, I'm not saying go in there and say, you want to go Bible school with me? I mean, you can't go in and preach from your, but if you just, that quote that Christy McClellan was sharing, if you just share what you're for, people will know what you are
That's right.
against. And just come in and love on these kids and let them see that their lives value. And they're going to ask you questions. They're going to give you an opportunity. They're going to open doors for you. You really want to be a part of changing the world and finding a mission. You guys that are retired, retire into teaching. Be a substitute teacher. Maybe you've got a degree that qualifies you to teach and you didn't even know it. Retire into teaching, y'all. We need you, and we're changing
the wealth of wisdom that comes
Mm-hmm.
with that generation. I know in my own, watching those generations change and growing up with fantastic grandparent influence, not so much necessarily parent influence, because we've seen that the generations change. We are missing out. So my children are now missing out on the grandparent piece of it. And what a difference. I remember still, I am older than I would like to admit, but I remember the wisdom of of the generation above my parents speaking truth into me. Those are the things that I'm remembering now as we train up and raise up our next generation. And oh, how I wish I had those voices speaking into my life. And so retiring into teaching, that sounds like a fantastic idea.
There you go.
Because the wisdom that we gain through life experiences is what we can share with those students.
And again, from the inside out, guys, we're going to get this back, and for him, not for anybody else, but for the Lord's glory. And we're going to pause with that said, and I'm going to do a break. And we're talking about decisions, choices, and options. I have the executive director, Suzanne Geerholt, is here with me. We're going to give you all the specifics. We got to come back and give them the date on the dinner and all of that on the other side of this.
Yes.
And I don't know if I have any seats at my table or not. Depends on if the folks I've invited can come and
I
know
think
who
we
you
still have
are.
room to add you another table if you need to. We can
Okay.
have to.
There you go. If you want to come sit at my table or sit at the table next, we're just going to fill them
sit
up.
at my table,
I've got a
yes.
few. Yes. Let's do it, y'all. Let's do it. I will be there. Let's fill up a couple of tables for this event. It will fire you up about what you can do to really change the lives of these kiddos and to turn this country around from the inside out. Let's pause and talk about my friends, Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. I love Miss Amy. I went out and talked to her the other day, and I said, okay, when are you going to extend your hours? They're still on the winter hours, 10 to 4 right now. And she says, give me a minute. Bless her heart. She has been through a lot out there. They had, when the winds came through almost 2 weeks ago, two of the greenhouses exploded from the air pressure, and so that plastic just like erupted, and they had to do some structure repairs to one of them. They were able just to restretch it. One of them they're going to have to do some structure repairs, and so she said, if you look at the temperatures, I'm having to keep things covered and protected really for about the next week and a half. So she says, let me just kind of get my breath, and we'll see when I'm going to extend the hours. But they do have a couple of dates that they want you to go ahead and put on your calendar so you don't miss it. April 1st, April Fool's Day, they're going to have their Full Bloom Festival, and that is April 1st at 9 a.m. So that's going to be just kind of a good old spring launch for us. And then we're going to have the Customer Appreciation Day right there at Mother's Day. It's in May. This is always a great time. It's on May 13th at 9 a.m. And what they do, they have planting stations for the kiddos, so you can plant some things for mom, for grandma, do all those things. Got free hot dogs for everybody, specials throughout. But again, that's at 9 a.m. So Customer Appreciation Day on May 13th, and then Full Bloom Festival, that's on April 1st. But go out there and just love on Miss Amy and spend some money on the CBD products that they have. Go in and get some of those great gift items that they have there in the shop because they are an amazing organization and have done just great things for the community themselves. Just love them a lot. CBD products, they've changed my life with my arthritis. They truly have. My hip replacement doctor told me to check out CBD. So whatever you think about it, it's helped me with my inflammation, and it really might be a game changer for you. And this is Robertson County CBD. We know exactly what it is because it's processed from the plants that her brother Bill grows. Can't say enough about it. I was able to replenish my supply the other day. I had ran out because of the wind damage and all that things. I just didn't get out there. It takes out that overall arthritic ache for me. I really depend on it. So go out there and talk to her about that and spend some money with them. But they want you to come and see them. And when you get out there, just tell them U-Turn sent you there at 4920 Highway 161. Call them at 615-384-3185. 615-384-3185 and get ready. Springs are coming, y'all, and we'll extend those hours very, very soon. Follow them on social media, and that'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on out there. Good friends of the program, Corbin Creek Greenhouse Kitchen and Gardening Center. All right, Suzanne, what do we want to talk about next? I've got some notes here, but what do we want to tell the date of the dinner and all the particulars about how they can be a part of that?
Yes. So I have the March the 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. at First Baptist Church in Hendersonville. They can go to our website and register at dcoinc.org. So dcoinc.org. And go to our events page. Mm-hmm. There will be a place there where you can click and you can register. They'll ask for a table host, so they can either put your name or mine or Joy's. I'm sure Joy would love to have them at her table too. And we are going to talk about the community. I've got this little vision here of that will be the theme of our dinner.
So this is
designed
theme.
For more. That not only were our students designed for more than the culture will tell them today, but we were designed to have more interaction with each other to pour in and raise up the next generation of our children. And so you'll hear from parents, you'll hear from churches, you'll hear from schools, you'll hear from community leaders on why they're involved with DCO, what their experience has been involved with the program and outside of the program, why it's necessary for us to be in the schools. And then you'll hear from our educators too, what's coming. We also will be giving a sneak peek to our new curriculum that will come out in the summer that is called Designed for More. And so it walks students through, this one is actually a biblical blueprint, so they can do it at home with their parents, is where we're hoping that context happens. Okay. But they can do it for themselves, or churches can also purchase this curriculum and walk through it with their students. And so in the Design for More, they learn about the healthy relationships in general. And so the beauty of our program is I believe one of our staff members called it Scripture disguised as common sense. But when we step outside of God's design for our lives, we experience those natural consequences that aren't so pleasant. Some of them are very harmful to us. And so the Design for More curriculum series is broken down into 5 video components that actually walk through healthy decision making when it comes to relationships, friendships, dating, and marriage. And what was God's design for us in that? And so you'll see 5 young couples, some of them who walked exactly according to God's design and some of the benefits that they're seeing from that, and some who maybe didn't know that that was the design and hit some of the pitfalls along the way, and then got to experience healthy relationships. And so at the end of it, we talk about how we were designed for so much more. Certainly our goal is to raise up healthy families and next generations. Some of our students may not be ones that are getting married and having families. So what was their life designed for? We were designed for that relationship with God, for that to be our sole purpose. And that's when we figure out what it is that he's calling us to in all of these other passions of life.
I love that. And we've got Susie Farrell that's online chiming in, just so devoted to this program. A couple of questions that she knows people are wanting to know.
Okay.
Talk about the funding for DCO, for Decisions, Choices, and Options, and why we don't take government grants. So
yes,
go ahead and talk about
last year
that.
we actually did have a state grant through the Department of Health for about 6 years, and that was actually federal pass-through money. So it came down from the Sexual Risk Avoidance Program through the federal Department of Health, U.S. Department of Health.
It wasn't just the state,
right.
The federal government.
Right. The state was the pass-through organization. Yes. And so some of that funding was cut when we had new administration come in, because we are a sexual risk avoidance program. So we avoid the risk. We're a primary prevention health model of education, where the versus a comprehensive sex ed, where they're teaching students. They assume that students are going to have sex anyway, and so how do we put protective measures around that and make it look like it's safe? That is not what we do. We encourage students to choose abstinence so that they are avoiding the risk altogether, all of the risks. Much deeper conversation than the funding piece, but they were asking us to give out information that really led more to a comprehensive sex ed education type model, which we were not willing to do because that is not what we do. Also, they were wanting us to collect information on surveys, and we can't survey students. That is not allowed in the state of Tennessee and in our communities. And so they wanted us to collect demographic type information that we were not going to collect. Things like gender ideology and sexual orientation and things like that. And so that was a boundary we were not willing to cross. And so we didn't think it was ethical for us to accept money from a state program. And the things that we could teach, the programs that we could use that for, was becoming so restrictive that it actually cost us more to accept funds from that program than we could actually use.
My political mind kind of perked up at one thing that you said, and I find this very interesting. So this was a program that the state was still saying, yeah, you can have it, but to get it, you're going to have to violate things that are mandates from the state. What?
Right.
That's so, I mean, really? So they're allowed.
And some of the federal guidelines from the program itself, what they could and could not do with it, they were actually handing us information.
That seems problematic.
I
mean, from the very core, not just the fact that you're saying, okay, no, we're not going to do that as a program because that violates our ethical guidelines. But even if it didn't,
right,
what they're asking you to do is in violation. You know, you just said it. You can't serve. You can't. That's in violation of state law. So why are we still doing it anywhere? I'm betting that some of that funding might be responsible for some of the counties having Planned Parenthood come in. You think,
I don't know.
Oh my goodness, Senator Roberts, I need to talk to you about this. And Sabi Kumar, I've got to get Sabi Kumar on, y'all. I just haven't taken the time to call him, and I'll promise to do that. But I talk to Carrie all the time because we're just old friends, and so he's somebody that comes in once a month. But that's a question for him, and that goes along too with what you were talking about with the Planned Parenthood votes and those kinds of things. Maybe that's under consideration. I don't know.
And certainly one of the bills too. I don't know if Susie asked this question, but one of the bills that we've been watching as well, because it affects us and our ability to go into the classroom, is because Tennessee has such great laws on what you shall and shall not teach in the classroom. We have the ability, parents can 30 days out, review the curriculum. It needs to be available, and our curriculum is available in all the school boards of education that we teach in, for parents to review that so that they know what their children are learning. And if they don't want their children to participate in that, then we have a form. We send it with the teachers at the school boards, send it out in whatever format they send it out to. So really there's a double protection there. But parents can opt their children out. If they truly don't want their children to receive this education, they can opt their children out of that. But there are bills on the table now because of comprehensive sex ed coming into some of our school areas. We've kind of gotten nervous, and our parents, we find, don't really know the laws that are safe and good in Tennessee, some of the best in the nation, and have been on the books since about 2012. Maybe that's why people don't know. We just forget that those things are out there. But there is a penalty too written in there that if these things are taught and a parent files a complaint, it is a $500 per student fine. So we are very careful to stick to the law, because we understand that. But the bills that are on the table right now would only be an opt-in. So parents would have to review the curriculum and only opt their children in. There are two, one specifically that covers family life, and one that opens up all of education. I'm not sure how that one is going to go, but the logistical nightmare of having to opt children into every piece of education that happens in your classroom. As a teacher, I would love to hear your information on that. As a parent, I know it's hard for me sometimes to get the permission forms back to the teacher when it's something fun that my child wants to do, and it is something that I know about and wants to happen. But with all of the education in the classroom, if we're looking for an opt-in, that creates a whole lot more work for the teachers. It creates a whole lot more work for the parents. It is a logistical difficulty.
Nightmare. I mean,
from our perspective. And those are things that sound good on the front end. Yes, I want to opt my child in. As a parent, I feel like I've opted my child in when I signed them up for school.
True.
I am trusting the school system to follow the laws and the guidelines and the standards that are set forth. And I have looked at those. So looking at every little piece of education curriculum is something that is difficult for most parents to do. And so giving them the opportunity to opt out for those things that they truly are very cautious about, it seems like a better fit for me. But there are two bills. I mean, that's kind of how part of what is coming in. I think that the people who introduced them are trying to do the right thing, but the unintended consequences are that programs like ours, instead of maybe seeing 30 children in a classroom, if 5% is the return rate on that, we're going to see less than maybe 2 or 3. And then programs like ours won't be able to come into the classroom because teachers will have to provide that curriculum some other way. And so we don't know. Then we don't know what they're getting.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. This is, we definitely got to talk to Senator Roberts about this. But, and that's one thing too, now kind of doubling back to when I've said, I want you to come in my class. Well, I have to send out forms saying, hey, we're going to talk about, this particular topic, or is it one, because I don't think it is.
So in the cost of parenting,
cost of parenting, I don't think that would be.
No, that would not be one of them. But we do have those forms if that's something that is
cost of parenting. I don't see that being an issue at all. And I mean, we're talking high school too. Right. So, and that's a little bit different. Right. So, we're talking with Suzanne Geerholt. And we're talking about all the things, decisions, choices, and options. Oh my goodness, we're almost out of time. Let me go ahead and do my last break, and we'll come by and we'll come back and we'll wrap this up. But I want to make sure, and I'll keep talking about the dinner. If you want to go, I've got room at my table. I'm hoping I've got part of those seats taken, and you know who you are. But anyway, if you want to join us at the decisions, choices, and options dinner, tell them real quickly before I go to break the particulars on the dinner again.
Is March 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. at First Baptist Church, Hendersonville in Wilson Hall.
Very good. And we hope you will be there, and we'll reiterate that again as soon as we come out of the break. But let's pause for a second, and we're going to talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. My friends in real estate, great friends that will help you with any of your real estate needs. If you've had any family that's gone through trying to buy and sell, maybe they've got their eye on a house and they want that one so bad, and they put a bid on it and they're trying to sell theirs. Oh, but if the realtor drops the ball and doesn't get great pictures out and doesn't really do the job pushing it out there, could make the whole thing fall apart. You've got to have a good team on either side of it. And I'm glad that I don't have to navigate these waters. I'm not going to leave unless the good Lord makes me. But if you're somebody, I've gone through this with my kids a lot, where they'll buy a place or they'll sell a place and buy a place. Man, it's a lot. You got to make sure you got a team that knows what they're doing. And Barry's one of those guys, because he's a marketer. He came out of a marketing background. For 17 years, he was a vice president of a marketing company. He understands that you got to have those pictures, you got to have the video, you got to have all that ready when your house hits the market, because you want this one and you've already got a bid in on it and all the things. Well, and Rebecca, she studies all the time to make sure she's up to date on all this stuff. She's one of the first in the area to be a senior real estate specialist, been at this for over 15 years. They've been up in Cross Plains for something like 27 years, so they're one of us. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. Do you want to know more? Of course you do. Go to sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, B-U-Y, robertsoncounty.com, or just give Rebecca a call. 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. Tell them U-Turn sent you. Suzanne Geerholt is Geerholt. I want to keep saying Geerholt. Suzanne Geerholt is with me. She is the executive director of Decisions, Choices, and Options. Don't know what Decisions, Choices, and Options are? Then come to the dinner with us. Tell them again. Yes. The dinner
is March 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. at First Baptist Church in Hendersonville. And
how can they contact you? What's the website you got to be a part of this, guys. Please be a part of this. I'll keep pounding the drum on it, but how can they reach out to you guys? What's
www.d as in dog, C as in Charlie, O as in octopus, I as in internet, N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie.
I lost it. I was reading. I was like, keep going.
.org, O-R-G. So www.dcoinc.org.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. Or you can look up Decisions, Choices, and Options.
Very good. Just Google, Mr. Google, find Decisions, Choices, and Options, and they'll find it for you.
Inc.
Susie, put up the link for her. She's on comments. Will you please put the link up in comments, please, Miss Susie Allen? Yes. And she was saying that the cost of parenting class is already okayed for school. So yeah, I'm signing up. They're coming to my my classroom.
And we have it in some of the financial planning classrooms already. Personal finance, I think they call it.
That's fine.
Yes.
And they're going to get it double. They're going to get it twice.
Love it.
With my Christy McClellan, the one I study all of her stuff out of Williamson College, she says you have to hear a thing 27 times before you get it.
Yes.
And that's the truth. That's the thing.
Yes.
So let's just keep on pounding the drum, y'all. And we appreciate you being here and being a part of what we have going on here with One Street Over. And thank you, Suzanne. I will see you on the 30th. That's a Thursday night.
Thursday night
in Hendersonville. We'll be there banging the drum for Decisions, Choices, and Options. And stay with us, because the Go Show is coming up next. And Deborah's sitting in for Sweetly Marie, and we'll have more from them in just a moment. So stay with us. This is 1100 WSGI. God bless.